Number 11. Sometimes a concept is so dumb that it's perfect. Sometimes a series of mashup ideas thrown in a blender and pureed into a cocktail of childishness manifests something that actually works. Sometimes, an idea such as a battle armor-covered, fire-breathing, flaming greatsword tail-wielding Carnotaurus with the paint job of Optimus Prime just kinda works. Hailing from the 15th anniversary title Monster Hunter Generations, Glavenus is at the head of an entire team of flagship monsters, and stands above all three of his fellow headliners both in-game and out of the game. A hulking engine of destruction and brutality, Glavenus is a monster that seems to have just stuck really well in the hearts and minds of fans. A combination of a striking design, immediately cool concept, solid combat encounters, fantastic armor and weapons when Capcom decides to use them, and a bombastic fight theme all come together to create this immediately memorable monster that expertly sold the fun and high-octane nature of the game he led. And that's what I think really works for Glavenus as a flagship of Monster Hunter Generations specifically. The big points against this guy are that Generations was a game extremely light on narrative, and primarily focused on being a celebration of Monster Hunter itself. So Glavenus and the rest of the Fated Four, though all really good monsters, were not offered a ton of weight and reverence within the context of the game itself. He is a rather awesome new creation in a game full of returning monsters, characters, maps, and villages, with a bit of build-up and hype surrounding the inevitable encounter you will have with him towards the end of the village quests. But here's the thing, Monster Hunter Generations is a big, crazy, goofy party, and Glavenus, well, he's the host. How do you celebrate a game franchise about Voltron beetles, zombie virus dragons, and pink monkeys that attack you by farting and being fat? You celebrate it with a fire sword tail dinosaur. Glavenus stays right in that good comfort zone, where the rule of cool is absolutely in full swing, but aspects of meticulous craftsmanship, ecological consideration, and a mild sense of realism are far from abandoned. The way in which he functions has made him instantly iconic, granting him a memorable personality and flair. He constantly keeps his tail nice and sharp, running the bladed edges through his teeth and grinding it down to a fine point, refining its edge and letting it heat up for battle. In cutscenes, idle animations, and in combat, he keeps his main weapon refined and ready at all times to annihilate just about anything that would put up a fight with him. Makes sense, too. Can't imagine much of anything surviving direct combat with a razor-sharp, muscle-backed flaming tree trunk being sliced through him. And this tail feels appropriately mighty in combat. Though, no, it doesn't immediately bisect and incinerate you like it probably should. Glavenus' tail attacks feel properly weighty and lethal despite the blitzing speed that Glavenus can throw them out with. The animation and sound design makes every swipe, slash, and slam of the tail feel like it could eviscerate an entire building in a single swing. And he's even got a little bit of tactics to him, too. He's got a trick where he loves to fire off a glob of explosive fluid while in mid-sprint and use the smoke and the fire to obscure his follow-up, relying on your inability to see through the cloud to obscure his tail descending towards you like a guillotine. And if you manage to snap that tail off, a feat only possible of accomplishing while it's lit up, you get the coolest part break we've ever got in Monster Hunter, a nice meaty chunk of his bladed tail embedded in the dirt. Glavenus does not rank amongst the most influential of the flagships. Heck, he didn't even pioneer the idea of brute wyverns using their tail as their main weapon, but for a relatively new monster, added in a game that was very focused on having as much gameplay as possible and not as much world building or story, Glavenus remains memorable, immediately recognizable, and an absolute joy, just like the game he championed.